Hey everybody, my name is Zeke, and I'm hosting a brand new series that we have for you that's going to be coming to you every Friday called Habits and Hobbies, where we're going to be going in depth on what some of your favorite Moorland staff and leaders are getting up to during quarantine and beyond. Let's get to it. Our first guest on Habits and Hobbies needs no introduction. Jauntzy has not only been captivating audiences on Lead On for weeks, he is also the director of Moorelands Camp. It doesn't get much cooler than that. He is a modern Renaissance man in every respect, and he's got some of the coolest hobbies in the world. And today, I'm speaking with him about his favorite. Without any further ado, Jauntzy, how's it going today?
Jauntzy, thank you so much for coming on to the show, Habits and Hobbies today. You are our first and potentially most esteemed guest here. Now, it's great to see you, Jauntzy. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I first want to thank you, Zeke, for having me on the show today. It means a lot.
Oh, it is my pleasure, and the whole cast and crew over here at Habits and Hobbies. You know, our pleasure. So people may know Jauntzy as the camp director, the guy who's out there up north making all sorts of decisions, just signing documents, making things happen up north. But I think that a lot of our audience would be interested to know a little bit more about Jauntzy. And as a part of our Habits and Hobbies series, I think you're here to talk with us about, maybe one of those hidden talents that not everyone might know about. So tell us about that, and why don't you tell us about that and how you got into that?
Sure. So, some of you may have seen that I had a video go up a couple weeks ago that was a baking video. And so my hobby actually is baking. I got into it when I was really, really tiny as a kid because I always used to be baking with my mom. And then I've continued it because something that people might not know about me is that when I was going to school, I wasn't going to school to be a camp director. I was going to school to be a scientist. I wanted to study biology, which is the study of living things. And
Whoa.
baking is almost always like its own little mini science experiment because everything has to be, it's not like cooking where if you make a tiny mistake you can kind of adjust and fix it. It's if you put too little salt, then your cookies might not rise in the way that you want them to or something like that. So it's kept me busy.
Wow, that's super cool, Jauntzy. Interesting how different types of areas of interest can kind of intersect with other ones that you might not think about right away. So, so that's awesome. That's how you got into baking. What would you say? What are your favorite things to bake?
So I definitely love the chocolate chip cookies that you guys saw me baking. Um, I think that my most famous thing to bake, and I think I've actually baked this for you, Z, is I make these things called Mississippi mud brownies, where I get a fudgy brownie and then I melt marshmallows on top of that, and then I make some homemade chocolate icing and I pour that on top, and then you put it in the fridge overnight, and everything comes together, and it's super super rich. And I have to cut the squares really really tiny because otherwise you're just going to get a sugar overload.
Yeah, wow. I do remember the Mississippi Mud Brownies. I like to call them the MMBs over here. So from looking at my videos, what is the number one way you think that I could improve my baking skills?
So it's hard to see in the video. I will say it's a little tough. It's a little tough to always see everything in the video, but I think the biggest part of baking is practice. constantly doing it over and over again. And that's something where, you really have to have that patience and all that stuff. It can be really disappointing, but I gotta say, for the most part, you're a pretty good baker. I definitely wanted to try, were they called Honey Joys?
Honey Joys, yes.
Joys. I wanted to try the Honey Joys. I was very, very curious. And I actually was excited last year too, because was it in November I came to visit, I visited you at Blast at Grenoble, and I got to try your black bean brownies.
Oh yeah.
I'd heard stories of these black bean brownies, and I had never tried them before. And I think the one suggestion I'd give out of those black bean brownies, which I have a feeling you already know, is you definitely need a better kitchen. Because that I can't remember what you had, but you made it work.
Yeah, I think I'm not much of a baker, but I would say one thing that I do know is that the true sign of a competent baker is that he does not blame his tools. It is an ill cook who blames his tools.
I would definitely agree.
Now, speaking of tools, Jauntzy, I believe that you have brought something for us today to show off, maybe a favorite utensil, favorite tool that you use in the kitchen.
So I actually brought two things, because I sometimes go a little overboard. But the first thing I brought this wooden spoon, and the really cool thing about this wooden spoon is that I have used it to bake in more than one continent. This spoon I actually bought when I first moved. I lived in Asia for a while. I lived in China and Hong Kong, and I actually bought it there. And at one point, when I was baking with it there, I didn't know if it was going to survive, because I don't know if you can see, but there's a little burn mark.
Yeah, we see that.
So this spoon has traveled with me around the world. So that's actually a pretty important spoon to me. I had a second one, but it got lost somewhere. I don't really know where it is.
Oh man.
Another one when it came back.
I love that spoon that you've had across multiple continents. I feel like there's a lot of knowledge within that spoon. A lot of recipes crafted.
I'm getting worried because it has a little split at the top here. So it's
just character, Jauntzy.
True.
Yeah, at Moorelands we have our leadership habits and qualities, and what I'm interested to hear from you, Jauntzy, is what leadership habits and qualities are especially relevant to baking or the kitchen?
So I would actually say, honestly, I think you could use all of the habits and qualities in your baking and things like that. And I'll start with kind of the easiest connection, which is our habit, decide, and plan. Because like I said, with baking, you really have to have that plan in place. You have to figure out and make sure that you know your steps, because even something as simple as you can't just dump all your ingredients in the bowl at the same time. There's a very specific order in how you add things, and if you jump too far ahead, it might not actually mix properly, and it might not bake properly because of the different chemical reactions that are happening in the baking material.
Exactly.
It always comes back.
Right. There's that scientist coming out.
Mm-hmm. I think the other one though that I always think about with baking is caring, because I find that baking is definitely something that you do. I'm always doing it to make things for people I care for, and to show that appreciation of them, and to try to help them out and to brighten their day. Or it's something you do with people you care for. Like I started baking with my mom, and and then I've done baking with lots of people that I care for. I've taught people to bake and stuff like that, but it's definitely something that I think if you're just baking and you're just looking at the instructions and there's no emotion in it, it doesn't come out as well as when you know you're making something for your friends or your family to enjoy, and it just, it's that extra ingredient of caring and, trying to show that appreciation for them. That is important.
Right. Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself. It always comes down to that secret ingredient. Wonderful. Wonderful answer, Jauntzy. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to wrap things up with a little bit of a game. I like to call this game very simply, very to the point, older or younger than Moorelands. And I'm gonna call out a type of food, maybe a brand, and you're going to have to decide whether or not that food or brand is younger or older than Moorelands Kids.
I think I can do this. I think I got this.
All right. So, item number 1, the hamburger. Is it older or younger than Moorelands Kids?
I'm going older. I think it's older.
Older?
Yeah.
I wish I had a ding, ding, ding. You are correct. The hamburger has actually a bit of a controversial start date. However, the reports range between 1885 and 1904 for the first documentation of the hamburger.
Was it actually created in Hamburg, and that's how it gets its name?
Jauntzy, that's a wonderful, wonderful question. I'm going to put my team on that right away.
Perfect.
All right, next we've got hamburger's old friend, French fries. Are French fries younger or older than Moorelands Kids?
Ooh, I'm gonna go with younger because I can't remember. My knowledge of it is that they were created by military cooks in one of the big world wars, but I'm not sure which one. So I'm gonna go with younger.
Okay, ding, ding, ding again. I cannot speak to how they were founded. However, my research shows that they were created in the 1920s. So, a little bit after Moorelands. So Moorelands is older than the French fry. That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
So the last one was hamburger's old friend. The next one we've got is Jauntzy's old friend, baking powder. When, Jauntzy, was baking powder invented? Before or after Moorelands Kids?
I guess baking powder wasn't necessarily invented. It was more discovered because it's chemical. So with I feel like in medieval times they had cakes and stuff like that. So I feel like it's older.
Ding, ding, ding again. You're 3 for 3, Jauntzy. That was good reasoning there. So actually, I do remember a little bit of research from this one. It looked like there were some substitutes that they were using, such as like baking yeast, that go way back. But actual baking powder, I don't remember is it sodium carbonate?
Yeah, I think it's sodium carbonate or sodium bicarbonate.
Yeah, so that chemical compound started being used commercially, it seems, in 1835.
Oh.
Yeah, so there you go. Older than Moorelands Kids. All right, we've got 2 more here, and now we're gonna go 2 brands. We're gonna first go with a favorite of mine, Cadbury, which you may know is the largest confectionery in the world.
That's tough. I know it was the largest confectionery. I do know it's one of your favorite chocolate brands.
Absolutely.
I think I've seen you munching on Cadbury chocolate almost every day.
Absolutely, but I need to take care of myself on the inside and on the outside. I usually need a dairy milk and a salad.
I'm gonna go with older. I feel like it strikes me as like one of those old classic, been around forever. There was some old-timey Cadbury. I don't know if it was a man or a woman, or maybe it was a dog. You never know, because
I'm
dogs
sure it was.
shouldn't eat chocolate, but they do like making chocolate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Dogs do many things that make us happy. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I wouldn't put it past a dog to, get, make chocolate to make us happy because they're so nice.
Mm-hmm.
Ding, ding, ding again, Jauntzy. You got it right.
Yes. I'm 4 for 4. I'm perfect.
You're 4 for 4. Cadbury.
Nerve-wracking.
Cadbury was invented in 1824 in Birmingham, England. So there you go. Item today is pretty tricky. I'm not gonna lie. And before you answer, I'd like to hear your reasoning for how you get to this answer. But it is Kellogg's.
Okay, Kellogg's. Kellogg's does a lot.
Kellogg's does do a lot.
They do a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like... See, I'm kind of torn because I feel like cereal's been around for a really long time.
Indeed.
But that doesn't mean that Kellogg's has been around for a really long time. I mean, see, I'm kind of a bit of a General Mills man myself because I like Cheerios, which are
Right.
General Mills, not Kellogg's.
Absolutely.
But I'm gonna go with older than Moorelands.
Okay. Now, Jauntzy, interesting answer there. I got to tell you something. I'm not even sure what the right answer is here, but I'll tell you why. The Battle Creek Toasted Cornflake Company was created in 1906,
Okay.
6 years before Moorelands Kids came to be. Battle Creek Toasted Cornflake Company was renamed Kellogg's in 1922.
Ooh.
So I think
A little bit of both.
it's a little bit of both, right?
Mm.
So it's kind of actually hard to say.
See, I thought you were gonna tell me it was started the same year as Mooreland.
That would have been a good thing to find out. What I think I would say, do we think it would be fair to say that you're correct? I think that the Kellogg Company is older than Moorelands because even though something might change its name, that certainly doesn't, disqualify what it was before. Right? Would you agree with me on that one?
I would definitely agree with you because in 1912, Moorelands Kids was not known as Moorelands Kids. In fact, when I started with Moorelands Kids, it had a bit of a different name too. So I think that's fair. I think that's fair to say.
Right. And is Moorelands any different other than, what it was before? Absolutely not. Perhaps just 100 times better since you joined, Jauntzy.
Well, I guess you could quote Shakespeare and say what's in a name, but and where his line from, I think it's Romeo and Juliet, where he says, a rose by any other name would still smell as sweet. I believe that's Shakespeare. So there you go.
There you go. All right, Jauntzy, thank you so much for being the inaugural, that means first, guest on Habits and Hobbies here. I'm your host, Zeke, and we'll see you guys next time. Jauntzy, if you've got 30 seconds for your final words.
I just want to say a big thank you to Zeke and the entire cast and crew at Habits and Hobbies. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Hey, we should do this again sometime.
Definitely.
All right, Jauntzy, you go out, you keep baking, showing good leadership, and I'll talk to you again.
And I guess we should end it off with Moorelands Kids.
We out.